So we're a few games into the 21-22 NHL season, which makes things a little bit more solidified in the standings as to which teams are going to be good, which teams are going to be poor, and just the overall feel of the standings, you know? I wanted to use this opportunity on this fun weekend over here to discuss the guys outside the NHL, hockey players and prospects around the world that are giving their fan bases more to cheer about that lie just beyond the 32 National Hockey League teams. Let's go over onto one of my favorite Twitter accounts, and believe me, if you've followed this YouTube channel for the past few years, you know exactly who NHL Ranking is. This is Mason Black over here. He runs the NHL app, or excuse me, the NHL Rank King app. That's actually what the app is called. And within this application, what he does is he calculates the PNHLe scores of prospects all over the world. Now, PNHLe, you may be asking, what is PNHLe? Well, here's the explanation. Here are the top age and league-adjusted NHL equivalent point production projections for prospects. It is indeed a mouthful, Mason. Pretty much what the PNHLe score does is it takes a look at prospects around the world and it says, okay, this guy is, let's say, 20 years old, he is playing in this hockey league, he has this amount of points, he is this big, he plays this position. What this formula does for PNHLe is it calculates all of those factors and combines them into an NHL projectability score that depicts whether or not these players are going to actually become NHL talents based off of the seasons they're having at the moment. Now, it's not one for one. Just because you have a PNHLe score of 60 does not mean you're projected to being a 60-point NHL player. What the scores essentially do is they categorize how good these players project based off of their seasons. This is a comment that I made on Reddit 3 years ago that pretty much identifies the scale. 50 plus is a guaranteed NHLer, 60 plus is a middle six forward or a bottom four defenseman, 70 plus is a top 6 forward or a top 4D, and 80 plus is an elite first liner or first pairing player. Only a few guys have broken 100 in the past few years. Eichel did it, Matthews, McDavid, Pettersson, and Lafreniere also kind of had that status as well. So this is the historical rankings of the PNHLe score and how everything works out. So with no further ado, let's go over the top 10 PNHLe prospects ranked yesterday, so Friday, November 12th. This is what we have as our projection for the top 10. The 10th best NHL prospect, it's actually a two-way tie between one Carter Savoie of the University of Denver for the Edmonton Oilers and one Josh Waugh of the Sherbrooke Phoenix in the QMJHL. Now, Carter Savoie, I don't need to talk about this guy. Why? Because we already made so many videos talking about Carter Savoie and the talent he possesses. Long story short, he is a goal scorer at heart. The guy knows how to put up points, and he is just an absolute maniac. So go ahead and check out the Savoie videos if you want to get the extended look on him. Josh Waugh is the 10th best NHL prospect based off of PNHLe with a ranking of 81. So the way he has been producing so far in the QMJHL, 14 games played, 24 gosh darn points, is good enough to warrant a ranking that projects him as an elite caliber player. Now, of course, this is taking into account the age and the league and the position and all that stuff. Things can change as quickly as next season. One bad year can really deter your NHLe score. So for Josh Waugh having just this number at the time of recording this audio, it's a pretty big deal because he's using his overall abilities, putting up points, and he's giving a lot of Montreal Canadiens fans something to cheer about, especially as a 5th-round draft pick. The 9th best prospect in the NHL by PNHLe is Marco Rossi, a guy who I honestly want to talk about a little bit more as the week goes on. But we all know Marco Rossi, 9th overall by the Minnesota Wild in 2020. He almost died of the virus earlier this season, so very scary. Very happy to see him healthy today, doing things in the AHL like putting up just over a point per game set of numbers. He just recently turned 20 years old, and already he is doing this well in the Iowa Wild system, and as time goes on, as more injuries start coming out to the Minnesota Wild, we will likely see Marco Rossi suit up sometime soon. It's just you don't want to rush this guy. He almost died, for crying out loud. Next up, at the 8th overall spot with 83 as a PNHLe score, we have ourselves Xavier Borgo out of the QMJHL Shawinigan Cataracts. He is a guy that was taken by the Oilers in the 2021 first round, 22nd overall. and the pretty meaty part of his game was his ability to score goals. On the rush, he's got a really good scoring ability, and this year, he is almost at a goal a game. He's got 13 games, 25 points, 10 goals, 15 total assists, so having a stat line like that, especially while being 19 years old, is going to help you out in the PNHLe department. Next up, number 7, playing for the Guelph Storm, it is the Anaheim Ducks drafted Sasha Pastujov, who was a really interesting prospect last year because he was on the NTDP as a guy that wasn't really seen as the same caliber of top talent we had seen with the NTDP in the past. Guys like Jack Hughes and Jake Sanderson and Luke Hughes and all that. Pastujov was not really considered in that same boat, and it's why he went 66th overall to the Anaheim Ducks. He had some really good stick handling and shooting abilities, but his play away from the offensive zone was a concern. However, that doesn't really matter when you're going out there getting 25 points in 14 games for the Guelph Storm in the OHL, now doesn't it? At only 18 years old, as one of the younger guys in the 2021 draft, Pastujov with this stat line projects as a very good player just based off of what he has done so far, which is good enough for the 7th overall ranking. At 6th overall, it's the Toronto Maple Leafs drafted Topi Niemela with an 84 score as well. Niemela is actually one of the top scoring players in the Finnish Liga, despite the fact that he is a defenseman. 18 points, 20 games played, a right-handed D, and he's only 19 years old. Niemela was drafted by the Leafs in the 3rd round of the 2020 NHL Entry Draft, and just seeing his name up there at the top of the league scoring charts is a very good sign for any Leafs fan that's looking out there for an offensively capable right-handed defenseman in the system. Hey, speaking about defensemen, we got a few of them coming up over here. 5th overall is the LA Kings' Brandt Clarke, who got sent back over to Barrie this season for 21-22. He played his last season's worth of play in Slovakia because, the virus shut down the OHL. He was also at the U18s there too, but now he is back in Barrie. He's got 14 points in 10 games played, certainly not bad at all, and he's showing off all the skills that made him such a highly valuable prospect that was worthy of going 8th overall in the first place this year too. The numbers, the projection, the points, it's all good right there, which is why his PNHLe ranking is so high, but it isn't as high as some of the guys that we have coming up here. 4th overall is out of the HV71 program in the Swedish Hockey League. It is the Philadelphia Flyers' 2nd round pick in 2020, Emil Andrae. He's got himself 13 points in 12 games played for the Allsvenskan. My goodness, that's my bad. I forgot that HV71 was demoted. But either way, Allsvenskan is still pro-tier hockey in Sweden, and Emil Andrae is going out there as a small, offensively capable, high work rate defenseman, and he's putting up the numbers, man. It's why his PNHLe score is so gosh darn high. He can get pucks to the front of the net, he can shoot a puck too, he can man a blue line, he's doing a lot of things well, and the Philadelphia Flyers, you guys should be really excited for this guy. Next up, the top 3. With a PNHLe score of 90, we have ourselves the San Diego Gulls Anaheim Ducks drafted Jacob Perreault, who is 19 years old, playing in the AHL. He's got 10 points in 8 games played, and he's got these crazy goals on the year where he is just super far out. I'm talking like right beside the goal line on the boards, where he is just sniping it by goaltenders. He's been able to do this for a while now, even going back to his Sarnia Sting days, but this season, being over a point per game as a teenager in the AHL certainly is not a bad look in the slightest, and as a guy who was taken at the end of the 2020 first round, he is looking to be an early steal based off of how good he has been so quickly. We're staying in the AHL though as we go to number 2 with a PNHLe score of 91. Let's talk about Jack Quinn. Because the Buffalo Sabres' 8th overall pick in the 2020 draft is 20 years old, 6 feet, he's a right wing, left wing player, right-handed shot. And dude, his goal scoring ability, while we kind of doubted how it would translate into the AHL from the OHL last season, it's transitioned pretty well. He's got 9 games played with Rochester, 7 goals, 6 assists, 13 points. The stat line combined with his age is very good, which is why his PNHLe ranking is so gosh darn high. But he is not the first overall player. Number 1 in the PNHLe ranking here by NHL Rank King, the app, is Owen Power with a score of 100. Owen Power, as we noted in the video the other day, has been fantastic. He's at 15 points in 11 games played. At the time of recording this audio, he is over a point per game. He is now ranking to be the highest U20 point per game season in the past 30 years if he keeps up this pace with the Michigan Wolverines. And because his numbers are so gosh darn high for the standard of that league, plus the fact that he is a defenseman, it bodes really well for the analytical model that is the NHL Rank King PNHLe production score. Now, I'm not going to say that Owen Power is going to be a guaranteed Norris winner as the years go on, but just having that ranking of being over 80, where he is already a guaranteed first-line player based off of the way he is playing today, it's a really good sign for anybody in the Buffalo Sabres fanbase who wants to see him do well. So, there you have it. These are the top 10 prospects based off of NHL Rank King's projected NHL equivalency score, taking into account size, age, production, position, and the league they play in. These are how the prospects stack up. Tell me in the comments, what do you think? It's a very unique list, I will say that. But I do think there is value in taking a look at the advanced analytics and the bigger picture behind these numbers. So let me know in the comments all your thoughts. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.